I started driving for Uber and Lyft about 7 months ago. I had worked an office job in Hollywood for about 2 years, and it was a very toxic experience. It was a boss who was constantly telling me what to do. I was getting phone texts at like 9 o'clock at night from this person. I ended up having about 5 or 6 panic attacks in about the 6-month period before I quit. And I started looking into Uber and Lyft about 2 months before I finally left that job, and it looked like it was going to be an option available for me as a way to kind of be able to escape that environment. That environment was really just killing me. My blood pressure was off the charts. I was really suffering at this job, and Lyft and Uber looked like this was a method for me to be able to earn money between this job and whatever I was going to do next. And so I did. Eventually I did end up quitting, and about 2 weeks later I started working for Lyft and Uber. I started working for Lyft, and it was, at the first it was really good because it got me on a promotion. They said do about 400 rides and you earn about $1,000, which seemed like a great thing. And every day I was pulling in about $180 a day. What I didn't know is that was a trickle-in bonus. So every time I was giving a ride, I was actually getting an inflated cost of about $1 per ride that I was not aware was part of that bonus. Instead, I thought that was just the baseline of what I should be expecting to make. About 2 months later, I'm told that, oh yeah, you're not going to receive a check for $1,000. You've already received $1,000. To which it felt like not only am I not receiving this bonus that I've been working my butt off the past 2 weeks to get, I'm also being told I'm getting a pay cut, essentially, because my cost had been subsidized this entire time by this bonus. Now all of a sudden my earnings dropped about 25% overnight. And so what used to be a really good deal slowly began to devolve into a struggle just to make enough to kind of pay the bills, to which I'm still kind of going through that. To this day, I'm still earning basically peanuts. The past 3 months has been really, really rough. Instead of making about $800 a week, which would be about a good sustainable wage, I've been making between $500 and $600, and having to stretch myself as much as possible to cover the $200 difference. And this is on top of me paying student loans, health insurance, bills, and all the while you have to save money for taxes too, because every Lyft and Uber driver is a 1090 status tax return. So for every paycheck, you have to make sure that you are saving enough for the tax man. And I know for a fact that, given that I live in Los Angeles, one of the most expensive cities on the planet, and how much I make doing this, even though I throw more and more of my time into it, that I'm not going to save enough to be able to pay my taxes up. I'm probably going to have to take on a payment plan to the IRS to do that. So not only will I have operating costs that won't be paid by Uber and Lyft, but now I'll have to owe the IRS an extra fee each month to keep things on. And if things don't change soon, it's going to end up in a situation where I'll be in a poverty trap, like millions of other people who do this. They'll end up in a situation where they'll invest so much time and so much money and so much effort to get a decent living that they'll end up bleeding all of it chasing after it. And Lyft and Uber seems to not care about that at all. They seem to not care about the quality of their drivers. They don't seem to care about retention or making sure that the people who are doing their work are taken care of. They'd much rather stiff drivers on the bill and leave all of the expenses up to them to cover it. And if they don't survive, well, they've got no accountability to them. We're just an independent contractor, just as replaceable as a cog in a machine. So that's kind of how I got involved in it, and how my struggles kind of evolved the past couple months. So the reason I got involved with LA Rideshare Drivers United was because right after I learned that I was going to receive that bonus, I made the realization that the company did not care about me. It didn't matter how high my rating was. It didn't matter how much effort I had put in or how much customers liked me. The company didn't care. And the only thing that I know is that the only thing that has ever been successful in curbing corporate power has been workers unifying together to fight for something better. What currently gives me hope right now is that this country has seen this before. We've been here before. Back in the early 20th century, workers were also exploited by giant companies that seemed impossible to take down. And they fought and broke those groups up and beat them and used the full force of the law to try to disrupt them. But in the end, they were able to triumph. And they were able to usher in a period of prosperity that has been unmatched in the history of this country. And so joining LA Rideshare United was a way to be part of that. Because if this country is ever going to be back in a place where people are able to get a living wage and a decent lifestyle, no matter what kind of work they do, it's going to require people coming together and fighting together for it. Right now, we're in a state where people all over this country are working harder and harder and harder and receiving less and less dignity for it. Drivers all over Los Angeles are definitely feeling that, and that's a feeling that's not just here, but spread across 1,000 different industries across this country. And what's extra unsettling is that as automation continues to get people out of these jobs, out of retail, out of industrial jobs, they'll end up in places like rideshare. And what happens to them is going to depend upon the work that folks in those industries right now do. Will these be jobs that'll be able to afford a house, a decent lifestyle, a vacation every once in a while, the basics of a middle-class lifestyle? Or will they be cesspools of exploitation in which people are barely able to survive and caught in a poverty trap? And I'd much rather see the former than the latter, and that's why I fight for Rideshare Drivers United. You have power. You may not feel it, and it's one of working for Rideshare's biggest problems is that it's an alienating experience. It's atomizing. You don't feel connected to anybody. It drives you away from your friends and your family as you work longer and longer hours, and you don't talk to other drivers very often. So you can feel like this is all just happening to you, that your problems are alone, that you're alone in your problems, but you're not. There are thousands of us, millions of us who feel exactly the same way. And when we bound together with each other, when we decide that we've had enough collectively, we can win something much better for ourselves than what's just handed to us.